So, I've eaten in other countries like Venezuela. I've eaten in the woods of America. I've eaten all over America, poor with $0 or only a buck or two. And I have never got sick like I did in New Mexico. But I've seen other people get sick from eating at restaurants in other countries and places where you have no idea how the fish is or where they got it from or what they're doing with it. But that's why I like street food. You can go up and ask for it fresh, or you can look over the counter and see them making it. You can see them grab it. But you also got to be careful with street food. But I have to be able to see the food being prepared. If I don't like the look of a meat, and if I don't like the way they're preparing a food, then I don't buy it. But if I can take a look at the meat they're doing and watch them cook it, I'm happy. And that's why I like going to home cooking too. If you book a tour, a lot of times you can eat at people's homes, and that's fine with me. Or barbecues where you see them take the meat out and they put it on a grill and they're feeding multiple people. Usually you can see that done as well. I like to see my food be prepared or I don't feel safe. Why? Because of the way my mother was, the way that that program in New Mexico was, the forcing of drugs into my body against my will, the giving me medication and brainwashing me, having me take it. Yeah, people actually held me down and forced me to take medication. And that happened to me at a young age and then again at a teenager age. So with that going on and all the food problems, I had a lot of food problems in my life, but I have a rule where I can eat anything at all. And I don't even have to worry. I'm not picky at all. I love it all. As long as I follow this one rule, I have to see it being prepared. As long as I see the food being prepared, I will eat every last drop of it. But if I can't really watch it be prepared, I worry a little bit if it's not like a pizza. If it's something very safe like cheese, tomato, and bread, I'm not too worried about it. The worst thing I gotta worry about is mold. But when it comes to like fish or beef or chicken or weird fruits from other countries, like more work to do. Like, let's say I'm eating that Jamaican fruit where the gases have to be released and the seeds are poisonous. I forget the name of it, but it causes Jamaican sickness if you eat the gases, if the fruit doesn't open up, and if you don't remove the seeds, then it'll cause you to get sick and it can even kill you. So, foods like that, I would eat as long as I'm watching it be collected and prepared. If I'm picking the fruit out and then I'm getting it all together in a basket, and then I'm going in the kitchen and I'm giving it to you to cook in front of me, I am more than happy to eat that Jamaican fruit that can cause Jamaican sickness. But, like I said, only if I see it prepared myself. If I see them actually, the fruit is wide open, I see them pluck the shell out, I see them remove the seed, dice up the fruit, throw it in boiling water, I know I can eat it. But if I'm going to a restaurant and they're going to serve me Jamaican food and they got that fruit in there, I can't eat it. I'll think I might get sick. I don't know. I don't trust it. I've got sick way too many times in my life from pills and food and things during my childhood to chance eating that Jamaican fruit that can cause Jamaican sickness if the fruit has not been ripe and popped open to release its gases. So if I can't see the fruit be deshelled, deseeded, and then cooked, then I don't want that food. You can be the most expensive restaurant in Jamaica, but I don't want your food if I'm not allowed to see it prepared. I'd rather go to the Rastafarian commune up in the hills where they will have me help collect the damn things off the ground or in a tree, or I can get a basket and they can throw them to me, or maybe I can see them cooking in the kitchen where they have them all wide open and you can see the things are popped open and you're all eating the same food. Then I feel more comfortable. I rather pay those people than a restaurant that's only serving me, and I have no clue how they prepared the food. When it comes to restaurants, your parents, programs, programs up in the mountains in New Mexico's, or when it comes to medication, you're just supposed to put stuff in your mouth and trust other people know better than you do. You're supposed to trust that other people are keeping you safe. When you are ordering from a restaurant, when you're getting food from a program, when you're getting food from your parents, you're supposed to just assume that the medication, the food, the things you're putting in your mouth are good for you. But that was my problem during childhood. I would put a lot of things in my mouth that my mother would give me, like pills. I would put things in my mouth like food from New Mexico. I would put things in my mouth like my food and St. Anne's, and then they would shove pills into me twice and hold me on the ground because a kid at the table told a story because I wasn't getting mad about his ketchup bullshit. It's just so many crazy things in my life made me sick or hurt me that went in my mouth. But I have a solution. When I take meds, I take them by choice and I fully understand the consequences that can come, the side effects, the illnesses that can come. And if I start having those side effects, I discuss it with a doctor. So that solves the pills problems in my mouth and getting sick. Unless they force drugs into me I don't need. What that could happen too. Then I'll lose my mind. I know I will. I can't take any more of that abuse from doctors being misinformed by my family. Anyways, makes you feel so sick too. I mean, if you take meds you don't need that aren't meant for you, then yes, you get sick. And that's what they did to me. And they still are going to do it until they get the proper information, what I'm giving them. So hopefully that would be good enough to put me on the epilepsy medication I need. Anyways, and when it comes to food, as long as I can see it, I know it's not going to get me sick. I can tell old chicken from new chicken. I can tell frozen chicken when they take it out. I can see a refrigerator. You know, if they have a refrigerator and they're taking the meat out of it, that's a good sign. So things like that are a way for me to eat any food I have. And that's the great part about cooking for myself. I know where the food came from. And even when I buy from a food pantry, I inspect and throw away everything with like a magnifying glass. Nothing gets past me. Even if it's questionable, might be good, has to be thrown away. And I believe in never wasting. I will reuse food I cook over and over in different recipes. Like last night, I made a salsa with a leftover soup where I drained the soup out and kept all the vegetables because it was a vegetable soup. Then I added that to a jar of salsa, and I added some ground beef and some ground, um, 3 parts ground beef, 1 part ground breakfast sausage. I mixed that up, cooked that real overcooked, and I took that and I had leftovers of that. So I reheated that, threw that in the salsa, mixed it all up, poured it out into a bowl, and then I ate it with chips, and I ate it with a tortilla, and I ate it with some eggs, and I think I reused the last of it just straight up out of the jar. And out of a whole bowl of it, that's all that's left. And I gotta clean that today. That's all that's left. Made a really good salsa. It was delicious. You could put that on bread. It was just great. It had peas and carrots and all these different vegetables in there. It had beef. It had the salsa giving it flavor. So it had everything that it needed. And it was really made out of leftover meat, leftover soup, and leftover salsa. Now, most people would have thrown the soup away and the meat. They would have thrown that away because it was already used in eggs. It was already used for 2 days, but it was still good. It was just starting to get dried out. So I needed something moist to moisten it up. And seeing as the drained vegetables that I took out, so I just dumped the broth out. There was a little bit of broth left in the soup, so I strained the broth out, and then I kept the vegetables, tossed that in there, but they're still pretty wet. So then I tossed the meat in, mixed that, then you add the salsa, and you kind of gave the meat a heat up, so it's all kind of just the juices are mixing together, and then the meat will rehydrate as the vegetables get nice and firm with the salsa. And because it was a tomato based vegetable soup and the salsa is tomato based, you don't taste the soup at all. The vegetables just pick up this like salsa y flavor as the meat soaks up any juice, so it becomes like a thick chili or like a salsa. And it just becomes one chunky salsa with meat. Great for crackers. I put it in some bread like a taco. I didn't have any taco shells. I use those to make some soft chips. I take soft tortillas, I cut them into four, and then what I do, well, I actually just indent them in the four. So it stays in one sheet until you're done. Then I put a tiny bit of oil in a cast iron frying pan with a tiny bit of lard, and then I end up just frying both sides up lightly, 1 minute on each side. Make sure that the oil doesn't soak in too much or it gets rubbery. You want a very light amount of each. And then I take it out before it gets too firm so you have a soft chip. Then you just break on the lines and you get 4 chips. And then you dip it into the salsa, and it's really cheap that way. Also, tortillas can last 30 days in your cabinet. In my house with the mold, it's the only bread that lasts. Most breads I get 10 days and they're covered in mold. But tortillas are one of the breads that I found will seem to last pretty well. It's like anti-mold. It's probably something to do with the wicking of moisture.